Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, a fascinating week 2 matchup. Alex Golish and USF coming off a monster win against Boise State in week 1, going on the road to play the Florida Gators. And look, to the Florida fans, many of y'all know this. We talked about this football game a couple of days ago being a tune-up for a monster week 3 matchup against LSU. After what you saw from USF against a Boise State team that was in the college football playoffs last year, no longer is it just a tune-up game. Like, I think if you're Billy Napier and you're Florida, you're watching that film from USF saying, hey, we got to be ready to play some good football Saturday afternoon if we want to get this one done. Now, by no means am I saying USF is expected to win. There's a reason that Florida is 17.5-point favorites. What I think fires me up the most is this USF team has the opportunity to challenge Florida on both sides of the football in ways that we didn't really get to see against LIU in that week 1 opener. That's what I'm most excited for. Before we get into it, as always, the Florida fans, hey, we're going to do two different things here. Number one, I want to talk about this USF team that I think's very, very good in 2025, but I also want to talk a little bit about what we saw week 1 against LIU as well. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, Dill, let's get into this one. And I want to start by just introducing this USF offense. Going to look pretty dang similar to what Josh Heupel runs at Tennessee, but with a little bit more tricks up his sleeve. Like, Alex Golish routinely throws the kitchen sink. I guarantee you, I'll set the over-under trick plays 3.5. Like, I think you're going to see a lot of trickery from Alex Golish in this game. And Dill, what I'm most excited to see from Florida is what the depth looks like in the middle of that defensive line. Thought it looked good against LIU. Now you got to show me it looks good against a much better offensive line in USF. They're going to run tempo. If you want to hold up against USF's tempo, you got to rotate some big bodies in the middle of that defensive line. To me, when I'm evaluating just how good Florida can be in 2025, I'm looking at a guy like Brendan Bett. And I'm looking at a guy like Brian Taylor, Joseph Mbachu, and say, hey, I thought all three of them looked really good against LIU, and say, hey, can you look the same way against a much more quality offensive line that USF's going to be trying out there?
Because that is the thing. Like, USF has kind of been able to build their lines of scrimmage up a little bit compared to what I think a lot of Florida fans would probably presume coming from a program like South Florida. Like, they went up and physically were very much banging with Boise State. And that's how Boise State's built themselves up into the standard of the G5. Like, they've just been able to dominate along the lines of scrimmage. That was absolutely not the case in that game with USF. So you will need to see, like, again, are those traits that Mbachu flashed, that power, that physicality that he showed, Brendan Bett's athleticism, ability to get behind the line of scrimmage, are those going to show up against, again, it's not like it's Texas A&M's offensive line or Alabama's or Georgia's, but it's a quality offensive line, or Florida's. Like, is it going to show up? Those traits that we saw against LIU, who are clearly inferior to Florida, are they going to show up?
This is a game where you get a sense of, hey, is Joseph Mbachu a guy that we can trust to play 10 to 15 snaps against LSU? Like, I'm not sure if we know that yet. We're going to probably find out in this football game. The same goes for a guy like Brian Taylor. I think Brendan Bett's going to play. I'm actually a monster fan of Brendan Bett, and he showed that against LIU as well. Second thing, Dill, linebacker team speed should be an asset, right? And you look at Childs, you look at Miles Graham. This is a USF team that wants to throw a lot of screens, a lot of quick stuff to the perimeter. Having linebackers that have the closing speed, the sideline to sideline speed that Florida has, seemingly to me, is going to be a massive asset in this game. Dill, the thing that I'm more intrigued with is and you said it before we went live, what's between the ears, right? Especially with a guy like Aaron Childs, right? Aaron Childs, it might be the freakiest linebacker that Florida has in that room. That's saying something, because Florida's got some straight up aliens in that linebacker room. What I'm most excited about is, look, you're going to see a lot of eye candy. You're going to see a lot of RPO. You're going to see a lot of pre-snap motion. Can Aaron Childs play between the ears as fast as he can play physically on the field? That's something that I'm looking at.
You've seen him not play at, like, at that high
Agreed.
speed that Miles Graham's played at. Like,
Agreed.
Miles Graham to me is probably further along in that dimension where, I
Yes.
mean, he is physically very gifted athletically. He plays very fast on the field. If Childs can start playing that way and you have those two guys who, again, can pretty much do everything, they can be really effective blitzers, especially a guy like Aaron Childs.
Yeah.
If you can get those two as like your guys, if you will, who you really believe in, that might be pushing for like one of those more dynamic linebacker rooms in all of college football.
100%.
So this will be a good chance to see what Aaron Childs kind of has, because this is not an easy offense to kind of go against if you're a linebacker.
100 is one of the hardest and one of the harder ones, at least in my opinion. Overall, keys for Florida on defense. Like, if you play fundamentally sound football, you don't blow assignments. I would be surprised if USF routinely moves the football in Florida. And then the other thing is, hey, win on first and second down. Like, if you can force USF behind the chains, force some obvious drop back passing situations, that's very clearly where Byron Brown doesn't want to really operate. He's a really good athlete. He's really hard to bring the down. You got to make sure you're a little bit, I should slow it down here. He's a really good athlete. He's really hard to bring to the ground. If you are disciplined with your pass rush lanes, you got the linebackers that I think can run, chase, and tackle, you should be okay on the defense side of the football. Dill, the storyline here, the USF defense. And I just want to start with the body types real quick. I mean, go back a couple years ago, USF just didn't have the bodies that they needed to compete with a team like Florida. And I'm not sure if they do right now. It's better. It's markedly better than what you've seen over the last couple of years. You said it before we went live again. What I'm most excited about is Bryce Lovett. I don't know if that was the best game we've seen from starting right tackle against a team like LIU. I'm not saying it was bad, but I think you have question marks about, hey, what's it going to look like when we go on the road and play LSU week 3?
Well, and the thing about Bryce Lovett is, like, you saw the athleticism, I thought, against LIU, like the cleanliness of most of his reps. But there were some of those reps that it felt like he almost lost focus or something, or like didn't have the
Sure.
mechanics you need. Like, I think, again, LIU probably didn't have the guys to easily take advantage of that
Yep.
necessarily. I mean, that's
USF
not the same
does.
with USF. They have legitimate athletes and they get off the ball really quickly. They're really, like, again, they're juiced up guys, like,
Yes.
athletically. Again, are they wildly consistent? Maybe
Yeah.
not, but they're really athletic. I think this will be a good chance to see what Bryce Lovett has. Like, is he gonna operate effectively for every snap of a football
Because
game?
that's really the only question you have on their offensive line. Like, I thought the rest of the offensive line, again, there was just a difference in talent and body types against LIU. The one question we have for Florida's offensive line is, hey, is that right tackle position trustworthy enough?
Well,
We're gonna
especially
get
in pass pro, because Bryce
yes,
Lovett can move guys around. He was doing that against LIU. And again, I'm not getting up here and saying I don't think Bryce Lovett physically has it, because I thought for the most part his reps looked the way you wanted. He was athletic getting back in his sets. I just felt like there were too many, probably like almost like gaffes, if you will. Like, oh, why does he look like that? When I saw the other play, he looked the way you want him to.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't
They're
have
like young cat just trying to find his consistency. But you said it right. Like, if you want to play SEC championship caliber football, which, by the way, after watching what we just saw week 1, like, if I'm Florida, it's SEC championship expectations, right? And I think Florida can be one of the best, if not the best team in this conference. You got to be consistent, and you got to have your tackle showing up every snap, especially with some of the edge rushers that you're going to see on the schedule. With Florida on offense, I think you are testing if USF can tackle Jaden Baugh that many times. I mean, USF missed 19 tackles against Boise State. No, they swarmed to the football. Jaden Baugh against LIU, and again, I don't know if this is the best analysis here. That looked like he was back in high school. I mean, Jaden Baugh we've heard it all off season long, and this is what makes me feel comfortable about saying this. I think clearly has taken a step. It has the opportunity to be one of the best running backs, not only in this conference, but in the SEC. And I'm looking at this matchup and saying, hey, if USF's going to miss 19 tackles against Boise State, how many tackles are you going to miss if Jaden Baugh gets 20 carries a game? And I don't know if you want to give Jaden Baugh 20 carries a game because, again, you play LSU week 3, and if you feel like you can win this game comfortably, maybe you don't put 20 carries on his workload in that week 2 game. But that's probably where it starts. Just make a USF. You got to show me you can tackle Jaden Baugh consistently, because LIU certainly showed that they couldn't.
Yeah, and he's such a monster. I think he might be one of the more underrated backs. And again, like I feel like his explosiveness looked good. He was popping big runs. It wasn't just like he was grinding that LAU team out. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, when he had a hole, he was getting through it quickly. He was hitting big ones. That to me is like kind of the next step in his game. And I feel like if you see that against USF, a much more athletic team, obviously, than what LIU was, I am very excited heading into the rest of this year.
Yeah, this is kind of a game where you get a sense of like how big's that step gonna be. In the passing attack, I want to see DJ work from the pocket. I feel like we're throwing a lot of screens. I mean, 24% of DJ Lagway's throws against week one against LAU were screen passes. Maybe it's just like, hey, he hasn't played a ton of football this offseason, so let's go get his feet wet, get the ball out quick. Here's the one thing I want to see a little bit more. We got Vernell Brown. You said it. I'll say he might be the wide receiver one for this Florida Gators team. I mean, his ability to operate after the catch, his ability to create separation in the intermediate passing windows, his ability to work vertically down the field. He might not be as flashy from a body type standpoint as someone like Dallas Wilson is. Vernell Brown I think, has the chance to be one of the best wide receivers in the country as a freshman. Eugene Wilson. That's a question that I have. Can we treat him more like a wide receiver as a year three guy? Because year one, it was gadgety from Eugene Wilson. Year two, you saw him kind of come into that, hey, I'm a complete wide receiver, then goes down with the injury. Can we see Eugene Wilson start to get things going down the field? Because I think he can be more than just a, hey, let's get the football in his hands in space and let him do the rest. Would like to see Eugene Wilson get incorporated in this offense a little bit more as a true wide receiver week two against USF. Because again, I think you're going to need him to be that guy if you want to go on the road and beat LSU week three.
And I think you got to get Lagway kind of rolling too, like because I don't think
Yeah.
he got a chance really against LIU. Like he made some of those throws that you like, climbed the pocket well at times. Again, you certainly saw him run into some pressure at times, which is
Yes.
a little frustrating because I feel like you saw that last year and it wasn't
Yep.
probably ideal.
Yeah.
But you got to get him kind of ready and acclimated to playing that way against teams
Yep.
like LSU because I mean, that's coming. Like you can't have
Yep.
another game where I feel like you're running some offense that yes, you'll obviously beat LIU into the ground running that sort of offense because you're just better than them in every facet of the game. I mean, you can't play that way against LSU. So I'm with you. I want to see them really get the ball going vertically down the
Yeah.
field, being able to work off of play action maybe a little bit more, and kind of run the offense that I think we project them running
Yeah,
against LSU a little bit.
there is more to this offense, especially in the passing attack, than just yards after the catch. Right? Maybe a couple of years ago there wasn't. This year there is, and I want to see them lean into it because I look at Florida and say if they are running their best offense, they're running the piss out of the football, and I think Florida's going to be able to do that a lot in 2025. But you're marrying it with play action. You're taking some deep shots. You're blending that with some intermediate passing. And you're also like, look, the yards after the catch. That's an important part about Florida as well. And they got dudes who can operate after the catch as well. I just want to see it all come together a little bit more. That's just being hard, but I think that's the approach you should have if you're a Florida fan. Is like, hey, we're looking to maximize this team because if you do maximize this team, I think they can be one of the best teams in the country. Dill, let's get into the pick. I actually feel pretty good about Florida here. I don't know if USF can stop Florida on the offense side of the football, and with the team speed and the run stopping ability that Florida has on defense, I do see USF struggling to stay on schedule. And if Florida does not blow coverages, if they don't miss assignments, I don't think USF goes up and down the field either because they'll go back to the Boise State game, a very impressive win. And I ain't trying to take away anything from USF. There was some funky stuff that kind of blew that game open. From a down to down standpoint, I think Florida's significantly better of a football team. And if they play a clean game, I think they should be comfortably covering 17 and a
I
half
mean,
here
this is a game that I think Florida could hypothetically run the ball 80% of the time and
and
be
go in.
really difficult for
Yeah,
USF to stop. Because
agreed.
I look like they struggle at times with Boise's physicality. Florida's certainly at a different level than Boise, especially with the back they have in Jaden Bond and obviously Daniels as well. So this is a game that I think Florida can play that game. Quite frankly, I don't think that's exactly what I want to see. I probably want to see more balance because again, it's not exactly a tune-up, but you certainly want to run your offense that you're going to run against LSU.
Yeah, you want to play clean football, man. You want to play clean football going into week 3. Ain't no doubt about it. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.